Yo, guys, what's up? And welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 73. We're going to be talking about She-Hulk in this episode, and I'm joined by Hoffman and Zaberwolf. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment below if you're watching it on a replay. If you're listening to us on Spotify as well, drop a follow on the channel, hit the notification bells. Guys, what is up? How are we?
Hello, Finto.
Hey.
How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you? How was the weekend?
Dude, the weekend and the week were amazing. I knocked off one of my cinematic bucket lists this week. I actually got to see the original Blade Runner in a theater on 35 millimeter. It was fucking amazing, bro. Like, I've been trying to do that my entire life, and I finally caught a screening of it. Incredible.
Epic. Yeah.
Incredible, man.
That's epic. I hate to admit this, but I've never seen that movie. And and I own it on Blu-ray, and I still haven't watched it. It's just one of those things where I just never got around to watching it. But I promise to you, before we talk next week on the cast, I'll have seen it because I'm all week off work.
So what good, man.
And we just got such a fantastic clip for all the socials with that.
Man, dude, the original Blade Runner is like one of the best movies ever made. And like, you probably have a really good sound system at your house. You seem like one of those people who have like the subwoofer. Like, that's the way to watch it. The music in it's going to be like just rattling your subwoofer. It pulls you in. It explores like the meaning of life and like what it is to be human. Like in the 80s, they were doing that, you know? And now with like all this AI and all this technology coming out, it's really intriguing, man.
What was the set? What was the sequel like? Wasn't it Ryan Gosling was in it or something?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yep. 2049, incredible legacy sequel. Picks up, probably like 30 years after the original, right? And it's just as good. It's just as good. It takes the idea of exploring what it is to be human, what is consciousness, and like keeps pushing it into new boundaries, while building upon this world of Blade Runner that is like one of the coolest, dystopian futures I've ever seen on film. Loved it. The Ryan Gosling one was incredible.
Nice. Well, look, this week on the cast, we got the first episode of She-Hulk. I'm very interested to see what you guys think of it. I've seen it twice. I watched it yesterday again for the second time, just to kind of, I didn't hate it, but I wanted to kind of give it another watch through just to see if I felt a little different after seeing it. And I've been off work as well, so I haven't had time to kind of leave like reviews on in my ear while I'm working and stuff like. So I haven't heard anything about what anybody else thinks, but I haven't watched any of the like expert breakdowns and I haven't even spoke to you or anything, Alex. And I'm very curious to see what you thought of it. Obviously, being the Hulk super fan. So, guys, what did we think? The usual round table. Let's get into it.
I'll defer to Alex on this one since he's the Hulkamaniac over there.
Oh, are you serious? Because I'm ready to Hulk out myself. Like, I gotta tell you, this show, it's not perfect. It's like there are some flaws. There's some things that need to be fixed. There's some things that probably need to be addressed. But overall, I loved it. Like, I absolutely felt so like heartfelt. Literally teared up at the end. I'm like, I got a Hulk come in. I finally got a Hulk to come in.
Yeah.
And she's funny and she's fun. And like she interacts with the other Hulk and it's awesome. And it's just like my brain just started going mindless. I'm like, I love all this stuff. And so I had a rewatch and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was kind of weird. Like, near the end of the near the end of the episode where it just kind of looked really 80s style. Like it just had that, like you saw the kick. It looks so like weirdly done. Well, like everything else felt so fluid. Like I love the fact that she took her shoes out just to transform so she doesn't ruin it.
Yeah.
And I love the fight between Smart Hulk and She-Hulk. Like I love how that they put in the roar. I was kind of worried that they weren't going to put like a kind of mixture for the roar. I thought it was just going to be her voice, and they did it, and it just felt nice. Like if like you can hear the two roars, they're separate, they feel different, and then they're competitive because like Banner's like, fuck, I'm supposed to be the original Hulk here. What's going on?
Yeah. I thought the last fight was very funny. Like, and I think they kind of pulled on those old like 80s and 70s like TV shows and stuff like someone would burst through a wall for like no reason and you'd be like, what the hell's going on here? Like that's exactly what it was like. She's just about to give her statement or whatever, like, and her closing statement. Then there's just a big hole in the wall and the villain comes in. I was just like, what the hell is going on? I thought it was actually really funny. I got a good few laughs out of the episode.
And even the 80s music popped in. Bam, bam, bam. It's like really.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a Law and Order in intro and everything like that. Like they're definitely gonna do it. 100%, 100%.
For me, I think like one of the biggest highlights of the show is in the very beginning, the banter between Bruce Banner and his cousin. Like I thought those two, the actor and the actresses, they just played really well off each other. They felt very, very familiar. I really enjoyed that scene of them driving in the car. But like overall, man, I'm just kind of like mild on it. Like I've heard a lot of criticisms about like, well, it's just a comedy. Like you're not supposed to take this as anything but that. And that's how I went into it. I was expecting like a comedy, and they definitely went for it. But I didn't find myself laughing that much. Like I didn't find the show that funny. There's a lot of really great comedies on TV, like The Office and Parks and Recreation. Even stuff like The Umbrella Academy, I think is kind of like a comedy, but like a superhero comedy. And I don't think She-Hulk had enough of that. Like not the humor just did not land for me. And a lot of people say type stuff of like, well, you're just not the audience. It's not meant for you type of deal. That might be true, but here I am in the MCU watching it, and it just felt like a show on NBC, like Will and Grace. And like, I'm like, this isn't that funny to me, man? Like, where are the jokes?
Yeah.
It's definitely a lackluster kind of situation with like all the jokes. I remember talking about that too. I was kind of worried that the jokes weren't going to hit as well. And I got to be honest, like those jokes are a little bit like dry, and they're dated. Like some of them are a little dated, and I kind of don't like that. It should be a little bit more modern because we're already in like 2023 in that point, right? Or is it 2024? No, I can't remember the timeline.
They don't even know.
It's nuts. But it's but what's cool, like what I personally like prefer or loved about the show was just the callbacks, all the references. Anything that had to do with like the timeline, anything that had to do with the past, they actually like kind of brought it together. They had like the mask from I think Ultron. They had Hulk's helmet from Sakaar. They talked about Tony. They kind of reminisced a little bit. It felt like a comic. It really did, because it's one of those moments where like they talk about it and they're like, I'm so sad, but like yeah, like we got to get over it. And I just love that they kind of went so quickly into the origin that even Bruce was like, look, you can't just take off and assume you're going to be fine. Like it was a serious matter. And I love that. I love that they made it serious.
Yeah. I thought Bruce was had a lot of just stellar moments. I'm not sure how much he's actually going to be in the show. It feels like they're just kind of like trunking him into like the first episode. Then she can kind of like have the spotlight for herself as a Hulk. But I thought that they gave his Bruce Banner a lot of really sentimental moments. Him remembering Tony, like and thinking Tony's just going to show up. For that just being like CGI, like you really felt that on like a human level, the acting there. And I also thought, you're kind of alluding to when he's like, hey, you might have this, you might be better than me at this right now and might be doing it quicker. But the minute you become the monster, that's all they're going to see you as. Like, I love that line. I love that thread and how they're exploring it. So I thought that he had a lot of really great moments with her. I hope this isn't the last we see of Bruce Banner in the entire series. I don't think it is, but I think for a little bit, it's like going to be her. Like she's the Hulk,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce popped back in say like episode 3 and episode 5 or something like that. He's like not in every episode, but he kind of pops in because obviously we have like there'll be an episode where the main attraction will be Wong. There'll be an episode with Daredevil or maybe 2. So I think I don't think Bruce will be in as much of the show as maybe they have led on. And what I found actually quite surprising about like the kind of the whole kind of promotion of the series is it looks like the vast majority of the footage that we've seen in trailers and teasers and all this sort of stuff, it was all from the first episode, which I'm actually quite kind of happy about, because I hate when you see a show and like, we've talked about this before where it's like, you'll see a show where they'll show you stuff from the last episode and you're like, why am I seeing this? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, so whereas I felt like all the stuff that was popping up in all the YouTube videos that they were posting and stuff, it was all from the first episode, which I think is kind of great because going into episode 2, I don't know what the hell is going to happen in it. Like, it's very up in the air. So I'm excited about that. Definitely for me, I loved to kind of go on to what Hoff said there. Like, yeah, the banter between the two of them was fantastic. They really bounced off each other well. I love the whole Captain America banter in the episode as well. Just absolutely hilarious. Love the fact that Chris Evans sent out an actual tweet about it as well. Like, just so funny. Absolute legend. I love when Bruce, do you know, after she first got the blood and she first turned and ran off into the woods, I thought it was real kind of like Lou Ferrigno style stuff, and then like, you know,
Oh yeah.
Banner turning around, facing the camera, and like, you know, turning green and stuff, and I was laughing because I was like, this is just such a tip of the hat to the Lou Ferrigno days, you know. So it was like that sort of stuff was great. I love the fourth wall breaks. They weren't too many of them as well. I thought maybe they might go a bit over the top with it. Maybe they will as the show goes on, but who knows? But yeah, like I was all for it. Really enjoyed it. Was surprised how much I actually enjoyed it, because I did see a few people, because I know a few of the big influencers and YouTubers and stuff got the first 4 episodes, and a lot of them said that the first episode was the worst out of the lot, and they get better as they go on. So I'm like,
wow, okay,
yeah. Like, so I watched it and I was like, I actually enjoyed this. So I'm like, I have very high hopes for this series if that's the case, you know, because like I'm listening to like reviews from like people like Heavy Spoilers and stuff who, like, you know, I would feel like I'm in the same boat as him most of the time. And if he's saying that the first episode's the worst that he saw, I'm like, yes, please, like, bring it on.
Cool. Yeah, I'm totally for that too.
Yeah.
And the thing about the fourth wall breaking, in terms of the comics, yeah, that happens quite often. And it even gets as far as like her making her way to like an office, but she actually like walks through the panel into the next scene.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering, like, how much are they going to put into the fourth wall breaking? Are they going to overdo it? I know in this situation they were kind of like pushing it a bit, especially with the beginning. I was kind of worried that they were just going to have this like, I'm going to talk to like be a talking head for the majority of the time being. And I'm hoping that they kind of like break away, give it like good segments, and not like fluidly bring it in. It's kind of like that moment when they're rebuilding the bar and she's like, he didn't mean that. And that felt perfect. Like, it was just a very quick quip, you know, and then she's like, wait a minute, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, she kind of like surprised herself a little bit, like, you know. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Very intro of the show, very beginning. The spaceship that comes down, the Sicarian S-class, whatever deal, whatever. One thing I didn't like about it, I don't like that such a huge catalyst for like the show. Like, that was like the first big thing. And then Bruce just kind of like writes it off. He goes, oh yeah, I got to look into that. Like, should this not be one of the main centers of the first episode? Is that a spaceship just ran you off the road?
Yeah, and turned your cousin into a Hulk. I presume that's what Bruce will be off doing when he's not on screen during this show, and maybe he'll show up towards the end of the series and be like, "Oh yeah, that ship, by the way, and maybe we won't actually see that happen. We might have to wait for a movie or whatever or something like that. I don't think they'll explore that. I doubt there's going to be too much like solo Bruce time in the show.
Sure.
The way that they're selling the show is definitely, you know, female Hulk and so on, and that obviously as it should be. Like, I don't think there's going to be a massive focus on the Hulk himself. Like, and what do you think of, you know, the episode getting like hate bombed in the ratings before it even aired? Like, the average viewers hadn't even seen it, and they were all like giving it like 3 stars out of 10 and stuff. Like, it's like, you haven't even seen the episode yet. They were literally basing it off the trailer, like, you know.
Yeah,
right.
Weirdos on the internet, man. They're like, they see one thing that's like not different or that not the same for the comic, you know, and they're like, no, this cannot stand. This cannot be different in any way than what I grew up reading. It's going to be different. The entirety of the MCU is different. Everything about what we've been watching is different than the comic books. So She-Hulk, you know, her origin story changing, that's not that different than a lot of the way the origins have changed for many, many, many of the characters in the MCU right now. The entire Guardians of the Galaxy, like, all of that is different. Like, all of that. And like, people will love that series. So I don't understand where that's coming from.
I think it's a lot of people are like fixated on the fact that She-Hulk appears, especially in the trailers, not so much in the show, but definitely in the trailers, it appears that she is just automatically better than Bruce in every single way. And I know she kind of says it a few times. Oh, so you're saying I'm better than you and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, different. And, you know, it's banter back and forth between them. But I think a lot of people are just reading way too much into it. They're taking it way too seriously. And you know what I mean? It's a show focus. The show's called She-Hulk. Of course, they're going to be focusing more so towards She-Hulk. But and then like when Bruce took the boulder and threw it up into space, like I was like, that's it. It's sorted. Like Bruce is stronger. That's it. That's the end of it. Like you know what I mean? So like that, like, and I think if people had waited and actually seen that scene in the show, it might not have gotten off to such a bad start.
Right.
Critic wise, like.
And it seems like most people think that like, oh, they nerfed him for She-Hulk, and it's like, no, they nerfed him a long time ago. And to be honest, like over time I realized that yeah, it is kind of tough having the Hulk do Hulk things and not cause like an immense amount of destruction. Maybe they were thinking of like in terms of costs, you know, they don't want to have too many destructive things, having to like rebuild sets and whatnot just to do reshoots. And you know, it kind of works. It kind of works to kind of like downgrade him just a little bit. But once we're getting through this, I have a feeling that it'll probably bring back kind of the hype for Hulk. And so I believe that we are eventually going to get a movie. And because we saw that Sicarian ship, my theory is that Hulk is going to find out that they were trying to contact Banner, tell him like, we need you to come back. Stuff is going down in Sakaar. Like there's a new tournament going on, like a grand tournament. The Grandmaster's gone kind of crazy. And, you know, he goes there, he kind of fights, he liberates the people, and we get a Planet Hulk. There we go.
Yeah. You definitely set that up. And like, real quick, back to the people who are, you know, oh, she's so much better than Bruce all of a sudden. It's like, where do you think this comic came from? Like, it's the 1980s. It's the start of like women really getting into the workplace and like really shoving their way in and saying, hey, I'm here. You're not going to get us out. Like we can do this stuff professionally. Like that's what the whole comic book was about, man. Like she's always been teaching Bruce stuff and like new ways and new things about the Hulk that he never understood. Like that's just the spiritual nature of She-Hulk. So it's people who say that stuff. It's like, what book are you trying to make up in your mind that never existed?
I don't even think it's comic related. It's all just down to fucking idiots. Like, you know, the whole man versus woman thing. People are thinking that they're trying to push this into the whole girl power movement thing, and that's not what it is.
The Spice Girls.
Like, yeah. No, it's seriously though, like that's what it is. Like, you know, like they do the thing at the end of Endgame, like where they were trying to push the girl power stuff. Like I think that was done very poorly. But I think that this shouldn't even be categorized in the same thing as it, because it's a female led show about a female Hulk. Like, you know, of course it's going to focus on women, of like, obviously. And she's clearly a different Hulk. She's not the same as Bruce. Like, it's very easily explained in the show. But like, I'm looking on IMDb here, like, and the series as a whole, and we've only seen 30 minutes of it, but the series as a whole is scoring a 5.5, like, which is shocking. And it's like, with 32,000 votes, it's on a 5.5. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? And then if you go into the episodes, the first episode is scored a 6.8. So technically the series should be on a 6.8 if that's the case. But people are going in and rating the episode itself. And I think the episode's better than a 6.8 anyway. So it's getting drilled for no reason other than just people being idiots. Like,
IMDb definitely needs to modernize the way they allow people to vote on things, and like the entire series should not be able to be rated.
Yeah,
until it's over. The entire series is out. Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, how is that even possible?
We finished watching the first episode, and my girlfriend was like, we went on and had a look on IMDb, and she's like, I'll leave a rating on it when I finish watching it. Like, you know what I mean? So, but it's just shocking to see. Like, when I first checked it, when it came out on day one, it was sitting on a 3.4. And I'm like, that is just, it's diabolical. Like, it's I feel so sorry for everyone involved in the show, because it just looks bad. It, like, you know, normal people that aren't, you know, diehard fans might go to IMDb and go, let's see how this is rating before I turn it on. Like, I do that a lot when it's a movie I don't know. I'll go check out IMDb. Oh, it's got like a 7 or an 8 or whatever. I'll watch it. If it's like if it's a movie and it's below a 6, I'm like, probably won't watch that, you know? So it's like, a lot of the normies do that. And if you get people going on and seeing 5.5, you're like, they'll be like, fuck that, I'm not watching that. Every other Marvel thing is like 7 and 8s and all. So I'm like, you know, they're just ruining it for people. Like, it's just, I think it's shocking.
And the masses just regurgitate it. Like, it's this weird singularity mindset where, like, if one person thinks it's shit, then other people start thinking it's shit, and then it just starts regurgitating. They take the information, regurgitate it on to other people, and just it creates this whole virus of like this show is bad. And to be honest, like I agree, like the show should have a little bit higher rating. I give it maybe about a 7.5, and you know my fan brain is like I'll give it an 8, but like 7.5 is about right for me. Like it's good. It still has some things to work on, but it's good. And
Yeah.
and it's just it's so weird. And I agree, like it should be like an embargo. Like they should just limit that or rate it or like restrict it until you know the release. Like at midnight, once the release happens, have at it. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. I think maybe like even like because I know a lot of the people who are reviewing it have seen the first 4 episodes, you know, so like again they've seen a month's worth of content. Like I think you should be able to lock it down for the public voting on it and give people, you know, access to premier accounts or whatever on IMDb. If you're an actual like influencer or reviewer and you're getting access to this content early, then you can have a review. But then, you know, define that as like a previewers review or something like that, like where it's not like just a public vote. Because again, like it had thousands and thousands of reviews and no one had seen it yet. It hadn't come out. Made no sense. Stupid.
It doesn't make sense. And I like to be at a 5.5. It's like the show the show should make like no sense at all to be a 5.5. Even if these people are accurately rating, like that is such a low score for a show that is perfectly passable. Like 5.5 is like a terrible rating for that.
5.5, it would be like CGI all over the place. Storyline doesn't make any sense. Shit acting, like you know what I mean, like everything that. I think the show was like it was MCU standard in my opinion. Like it was funny. It was the CGI was good. The action was good. I could see like I don't want to agree with these stupid people, but like when I read like someone or like I watch a video on TikTok or something and it's someone like making a point that like, you know, why did Hulk get run over by the Jeep or something? And, you know, it's like, I could kind of understand why some people think like that. It's like when we see him in Avengers 1, he literally punches that alien like fucking slug thing in the face. It just stops it dead in its tracks. You know what I mean? And it's like, so how does he go from that to like literally getting thrown around by a Jeep? And then it's like, you know,
right.
It's like it's his cousin. It's his cousin driving the Jeep. It's his Jeep.
He doesn't want to hurt her.
He doesn't want to hurt her. He doesn't want to destroy his Jeep. So it's like, just fucking think about it. Like, you know, and I think that's the problem. Like, people aren't thinking properly. You know? It's just so stupid.
Yeah, I can see your point there. But you know, there is things that these writers do in these shows that like they think they'll be fun scenes, and then they had to have thought to themselves, well, wouldn't Hulk be able to stop this? And then they're like, fuck it, you know? And then they write the scene because that's what they want. So I get that for sure that's frustrating. But at the same time, it's like, what are you gonna do, bro? Like the MCU is full of inconsistencies like that. You know, Captain America, it could fucking stop a helicopter from flying away with his bare strength, but like, you know, he struggled at times against like Iron Man stuff when fighting them hand to hand. You know, it's like a lot of things just don't match up.
Right.
True.
Well,
again,
like
it's comic book content.
Yeah, right.
And you got to admit, Hoffman, that was Captain America doing a pull, whereas like that's a push. And I don't know, maybe he's not working on his push.
I stand corrected. Yeah. My bad. Fuck this. Hulk should not have been able to stop that
Jeep. What do you think it did at the after credit scene? I burst out laughing. I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, hilarious.
That was so silly.
It was so good, dude. So
my favorite part of all those memes is if he lost his virginity on the USO tour, you go back and the actress that they used during those USO tours, right? She is the same lady who played Star-Lord's mother in the hospital. They recast her in that role just because that's how extras are, right? Or they just like using the same people because they know them. But then it's all those people like, wait, so does Steve fuck Star-Lord's grandma?
Steve could be Peter Quill's granddad.
You never know.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so silly.
I'd love it.
What do you guys think of like that really quick scene with Titania? Like, I have a feeling she's gonna get up and like cause some mayhem or something. I'm hoping at least, or they throw her in jail and then she's like, "I'll get you." Like, it goes really like, you know, cliche, and it's like, "I'll get you next time" while she's in jail.
It would not surprise me at all. Yeah, I think she'll probably see her again in the lockup, and that's where she runs into Abomination and stuff. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's just I thought that the whole scene was just so cheesy, but it was just so perfectly done.
Yeah.
When we saw the courtroom, I was like, oh my God, are we going to see Matt Murdock? Like, I was like, oh Jesus, is this happening right now? I was like, oh shit. Got that because you know it's coming. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
He's going to be in multiple episodes. So I'm super hyped for that.
I felt like this was the first MCU show that actually felt like a television show in a weird way. Where the other ones just kind of felt like, like limited release, like special things. There was something about this that felt very TV, very episodic, and like they could just do one-off episodes about anything they want.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
They kind of have said that they're trying to base it on like an actual like lawyer TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So they're structuring it like that, and I think it's working.
Totally see that, man.
Yeah. So I know that we were thinking that maybe we're not going to see as much Bruce, but I'm really hoping that when we get to the point where we have an interaction with Abomination, that they have to bring in Bruce to have this conversation to get kind of like the entire story of what actually happened, and then maybe have an interaction between Bruce and Blonsky.
That'd be cool. Because like, have they seen it? Like, I presume they haven't probably interacted with each other since the events of their movie or whatever.
Yeah, and that was pretty much it. Like he knocked him out, and he was arrested, and that was pretty much it. Like he hasn't seen him since, because Bruce is out in Mexico, which I love. Like I love that they're on the West Coast, which I know that I've been kind of yucking up the whole like West Coast Avenger thing, and it's starting to like I'm still kind of on it because I'm like She-Hulk's in the West Coast. West Coast Avengers is going to happen eventually.
Yeah. I love that. Is that just because you're a West Coaster? You just wanted an Avengers team at the West Coast?
Well, there
bit of representation for the West Coast.
A little bit, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't give honestly. Like that's not something I think about at all. Like I couldn't give a fuck where Tony Stark hangs up the helmet. Like because like it wasn't in the first.
Well, he's on the West Coast too.
Yeah, he was in the first two movies, and then he moved to New York. But it's like I don't give a shit if he's in LA or if he's in New York. Like it's just like whatever.
Well, that's the one thing I really love about Marvel over DC though, is because they actually use the world itself, the entire map. They can go wherever they want. They can do whatever they need to do, and it's all in like a real world setting. Like you'll hear the names of different places that you've heard of before.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of Batman comics, and it's so funny because like sometimes me, shocker. When he leaves like Gotham, or if he leaves America, like he'll go to London, or he'll be in like Russia or something. Or I even read a comic where he was in Ireland, and it was amazing. Like, but it's just so funny that whenever they're in America, it's either just Gotham or Metropolis. Like he doesn't go anywhere else. Like, although I think there was a mention of him moving to New York or something like that. But I always kind of thought like Gotham kind of was New York or whatever. But I don't know. Obviously, New York is around as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's much like with the Resident Evil series. Like they have a place called Raccoon City, but it doesn't exist on the map. But it like they are still using like the real world map, and it's just placed there. And then once it blows up, then they have to go to other places.
Yeah. They just construct raccoon cities all over the place. Hilarious.
Gotham is so funny that there's a New Jersey soccer team here that calls themselves Gotham FC.
That's crazy.
I'm like, what? This isn't a real place here. What are we doing?
There's actually a restaurant in the Dublin city centre. There's two restaurants. There's one called Captain America's, and there's one called Gotham Cafe.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
have you been there?
Awesome.
I've been to both of them. Yeah,
all right, nice.
Yeah, the Captain America is kind of like a TGI Fridays kind of rip-off place, but they've got like cool like comic book shit all over the place. It's just TGI Fridays, but like Marvel themed. But it's pretty cool. It's not great food, like, but you know what I mean.
Oh,
you're not really going there for the food.
So in terms of what Bruce and She-Hulk like conversed, how do you guys feel about the whole origin in terms of like him explaining to her, or like them like him realizing that she doesn't have someone else on the wheel? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I like it. I think it would have probably been more fun if she did have a persona, because then you would have seen her struggle, and it would have probably included Bruce more, if she started having slip ups and stuff like that. Now, I presume that line that he talks about where it's like, all it takes is one little slip up and you get a bit too angry and the whole thing goes to shit. I presume that's going to probably happen. I'd say, she'll get angry or she'll be fighting someone and she'll cause a lot of destruction like the Hulk does. And then she might call Bruce back in. Maybe that's how he comes back, because it's like she fucks up some shit in New York, like, and causes a lot of carnage or something. But I don't know. I like the fact as well. I thought maybe, I don't know if it was done for comedy purposes or whatever, but just even when he was like, easy girl, easy, and then she's like, why are you talking to me like I'm a horse or something? And she's like, Jen, he's like, is that you? And he's like, yes. What's going on? So like, I love that whole banter, but I don't know if that was done so that they wouldn't have to have Bruce in the show as much. Maybe they couldn't have Mark Ruffalo as much. I don't know.
I mean, it fits the lore because when you see Jen actually doesn't have any dissociative identity disorder. Bruce had his upbringing. He was abused as a child, like psychologically and a little bit physically. So like he had a lot of repressed memories. So everything that kind of culminated into that whole situation with the gamma bomb. And that's why he has so many different personalities within him. And so Savage is the main one that kind of takes over every now and then. And just as you were talking, Pinto, when she gets too angry, there is a part in the comics where she does end up becoming Savage She-Hulk, and
nice.
That's when she becomes basically like just the same as Savage Hulk. And there's speculation that she might even be stronger than him at certain points, but it's all thrown up in the air.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna pick up on. It's like, there isn't anyone else driving there, but like Bruce is a fucking psychopath. Like he literally just like, he's crazy, bro. Like he's a nut. Like he's Dr. Jekyll and Hyde or whatever. Yeah. Like he doesn't have it together. And he's repressed the Hulk so much. But that's like who he is. Like that is who he is on the inside. He gets that mad, but he's always like kept that deep down and like under control. Versus her, who's just got her shit together. She's a well-adjusted adult who got exposed to gamma.
Yeah, my heart kind of broke for Bruce a little bit, like when he's talking about being like not knowing himself and having like an inner struggle for like 15 years. Like imagine going through that. Like it's because like obviously we've seen him in the MCU popping up here and there, and you don't really get the feeling that he's struggling so much. Like I know the Edward Norton movie probably did it the best, to be fair. Like they proper went into it. He had like the watch on where it was like tracking his heart rate and stuff, so he knew he'd have to calm himself down. He was just petrified of hulking out, like, because he knew he would just cause carnage. So like it's interesting that Bruce, because I always thought when they made the change to Ruffalo, it seemed as if he had gotten it in check, like, because like we didn't really see too much of him completely off the rails, like lost control, can't do anything, so yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I could see why they have done it the way they've done it, but I kind of think it would have also been fun to see her kind of going berserk at the start and having to be isolated and trained up and stuff like that. But
and she was going to, when you notice at the bar scene, because like she's still kind of not really sure at what point she would have to, like, she would be changing into the She-Hulk. So then once they had that whole conversation and he was starting to study like how she transforms, when she transforms, what triggers her, then that's where the control comes in. And I honestly like that they're going in this direction, because in the comics she does learn how to control it, and it just feels so good to have someone like a Hulk based person in control of themselves, and one that's just chaotic. So we get this nice setting of like, we don't know how often she's going to turn into the She-Hulk, because I'm assuming that she doesn't really like the other form right now. I don't know what direction they're going to go with this, but in the comics she loves that form. She prefers to stay in that form. So, but I know that they need to get Tatiana Maslany in like, on set. They need to have her face. They need to show her, because she's an actress, and they need to put her face out there. So yeah, I disagree too, Hoffman. I prefer not to have that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, like, from some of the trailers and stuff, it seems like she's gradually going to progress into being She-Hulk more. I think like that's the way they're kind of, maybe that's how I'm kind of putting the pieces together from the clips that we've seen. But because like, you know, when you see like her coming out, like she's going to like fashion shows, she's wearing the dresses, but she's like in She-Hulk form, and then she's going on dates with dudes in She-Hulk form as well. So I feel like she's going to embrace it. Yeah.
Good. We need that.
I also think it's kind of funny how they just kind of gloss over the fact that she called herself. She's like, yeah, I'm a Hulk. Where up until this point in the MCU, like the Hulk's been Hulk. Like that the idea of their like Hulk being a plural and like a Hulk is just something you are has never been explained. And then all of a sudden, like the first 2 minutes of the show, she goes, yeah, I'm a Hulk. Like it's just and that's just such a comic book thing. There's like, you know, 18 Hulks or whatever, you know, I don't know. There's tons of people who are just Hulks. And you just never get that in this. They just like busted right through it. Like it was like you just always knew it. I just found that really humorous.
Well, and how did you guys feel about the whole situation where Bruce is like, yeah, that's what they call me now? Because that's a huge callback to like all the different names that all the characters have been getting. Like they're just called that by the population. It's not that they named themselves that. None of them gave themselves their names. They were all named by like the people.
Yeah.
I'll say this: Smart Hulk is the dumbest fucking name I've ever heard in my life, and I don't know how this is happening.
It's not the favorite Hulk, I guarantee you, man. Like this merged Hulk, it's not as fun. Like in the comics, is more fun because that Smart Hulk, he's called the Professor. That dude will carry like missile launchers, Gatling guns, and shit into the war because he's smart enough to use them now. So like he's able to use weaponry. He's able to get strong when he gets angry. He's not as strong as like Savage Hulk, because Savage Hulk is just mindless and craziness. And so like I think we're kind of reaching into that because, you know, over time I think eventually they're going to separate. And I know that we were kind of, you know, concerned about how Bruce changed, and we got an answer, which I'm really happy about. But I'm starting to think that, you know, what if the Savage Hulk is actually getting upset at the fact that like he's trying to suppress every now and then and not stay as Hulk, because it should be a melding of the minds. They should be nice to each other and happy together. But obviously he doesn't like to stay in the Hulk form all the time.
And just so we're clear, I'm all right with the idea of Professor Hulk. The name Smart Hulk is fucking terrible. Just call him Professor Hulk. Like call him Professor Hulk. I'm Smart Hulk. Like what? No,
I like that Bruce said though, he's like, you know, I didn't give this name to myself. Like it was chosen for me, so he doesn't even like it. You know?
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Well, imagine if he was Joe Fixit, like with the Gray Hulk.
Dude, there's got to be like some copyright issue behind the name Professor Hulk. There's no reason they would not use it.
I don't understand it at all. Yeah, there has to be something. I don't understand it at all. Yeah, so like, do you guys have any predictions for the show, or like anything you want to see? Like, what are you as a complete like Hulk nerd, Alex? Like, what are you praying for? Like, what would you love to see?
I would love to see Spider-Man. I would love to see Spider-Man come through for no reason. I'd just have him swing by or something like in the background. I know we're gonna get Daredevil. I know we're gonna get Abomination. I am hoping that they at least reference or at least give a hint that we are eventually going to see the leader, which is the Hulk villain that was produced at in the Edward Norton filming. So near the end, you'll see Samuel Stearns. He got hit by the Abomination. He has a gash open in his head, and a bit of Hulk's blood seeps into it. And you see like the brain kind of like move a little bit, and he starts smiling. And I'm like, that's the leader. I really hope they address that or show him in, like, I would love to see him at the very end of the show, like as an after credits of like, it's now my time. So says the leader, like just kind of embracing the fact that like we're gonna get Hulk stuff pretty soon.
Yeah. Are they stuck in a contractual thing where they can't do Hulk stuff though? Like there can't be solo Hulk movies. Is that a thing?
They can distribute Hulk. Well, distribution rights are to Universal. Disney can do whatever they want with the Hulk, but Universal has to distribute it, so they get money off of it, and they get to say like where it's distributed. So it's kind of like a bind. I'm not sure if Disney likes that, and that's probably why they haven't really been doing anything with the Hulk since.
Yeah, because I think there's contractual like blocks for them actually doing a solo Hulk movie, and I think that's why we haven't seen one yet, to be honest.
Yeah, the way I understand it, it's like you said, Universal has the distribution rights. So if they do make a solo Hulk movie, they have to go to Universal distribute it, but they can use him as a side character wherever they want, whenever they want.
Yep,
And Universal can't do
exactly.
anything about it. He just can't be the lead.
Exactly.
So stupid, bro.
It is, but I mean, I would take that more right now than than anything. Like everybody here, like except for me, and I know it sounds like I'm being like narcissistic. Like Finto, you got your Spider-Man movies. Hoffman, you got your Thor movies.
Yeah.
I have my one Hulk movie.
Yeah, because they
I'm
tried it and it sucked.
yeah, like I get it. Most people didn't like it, but me being a fan, I was like, I still loved it. I still
tried it
wanted
twice.
more. Well, with the Ang Lee one, that was so
Still
a
Hulk
dumb.
movie.
Eric Bana.
Stupid though. Yeah, I hated that one. I absolutely hated it.
The amount of closet Hulk fans who actually loved the first Hulk all of a sudden is skyrocketing. By the way, everyone's like, "Oh man, the one with that door, that's fucking great, bro." We were too hard on it.
It's hitting classic status now. It's
Yeah.
like it's it's like the Star Wars fans. Like I guarantee in like 15, 20 years, everyone's gonna love Rey and the sequel trilogy. Like it's like, oh, it was classic. It was just too ahead of its time.
Right. Well, they did because they did the same thing with the past trilogy, right? Like at first it was like, oh man, we hated it, but like after the sequel trilogy, they're like, you know what? The episodes 1 through 3
prequels, yeah, they weren't that bad. No, I loved the prequels.
Bro,
like at the time because I was just young, but
I remember walking out of the prequels and hearing people being like, "What the fuck did I just watch?" Like George Lucas has ruined everything. Like
that's why he sold it, bro. The hate that he got, he was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna make 4 billion. Walk. See you later."
Yeah, making good choices.
So Katie's brother-in-law is a huge Star Wars fan, and I mentioned the moment I mentioned Jar Jar, he's like, Jar Jar was one of the best characters in the thing. Don't tell me anymore. I don't want to hear it. He was one. I'm like, okay, all right. So like that's how you know that some people are just diehard fans of the prequel trilogy.
I'm a diehard fan of the prequels, and Jar Jar can go straight to hell.
Yeah,
like
same.
He literally makes fart jokes. Like they just have him fart all the and like I'm like, George, what are we doing?
Yeah,
what are we doing here, George?
Jar Jar was made for 10-year-olds. Like fact. Absolute fact.
It's like poetry.
Yeah. Guys, could we talk for a minute about the Loki 2 rumors that are flying around the internet this week?
Hit me. I've internet list this week. I don't know any rumors going on.
Yeah.
So apparently, and I heard this a while ago, but I didn't hear anything about casting or anything. But apparently, the Supreme Squadron are going to be in Loki season 2.
Okay.
They're basically Marvel's answer to the Justice League. So like literally they have a guy who looks like Batman, they've got a guy who looks like Superman, they've got a like an Amazon warrior princess who looks like Wonder Woman. Like it's ridiculous.
Oh my god.
It's crazy, dude. I swear to God, they're like, and they will say it without shame that they made this team to just be a copy of the Justice League. But Hyperion is the main dude. He's their Superman. And rumor has it that Henry Cavill will actually be a Hyperion in this show.
I'm 100% down with Hyperion.
Aren't these the people that like Coulson pulls together to be like America's Avengers once the Avengers kind of like decoupled themselves from the government?
You might be right, yeah. I don't really know too much about them now, to be honest, but I've heard just in their creation, like in real world, like it was a kind of like hit back on the Justice League, like, which is absolutely hilarious. But if they can get Henry Cavill, I think that'd be so funny. But I wonder, like, would it just be kind of like John Krasinski as Reed, where it's just like, it's in one little pocket timeline or something, and it's not official, it's nothing serious, but it's just kind of a one-off where they kind of just get to get that jab in at DC.
I see, like, would he make a great Hyperion for sure, right? But I don't understand the amount of people who are wanting Henry Cavill to come to the MCU and they get like one of these minor ass roles. Like, you want him to be a side character in the Loki TV show? Like, what is wrong with people?
I know. I know.
I mean, but like it's just so like correlated with Superman, so I can see how this will be put in. To be honest, like if they get him in here in the Squadron Supreme of America, I'm totally down for it. I think it'd be great. I'd like get Cavill in, but if they had to make a decision, if I had to choose Cavill anywhere, I'd have him as the Sentry, which would be fantastic.
Did you see that guy, the guy in the back there looking like a little speedster and everything?
Yeah, like smiling and everything.
Oh, dude, it's ballsy. I love it.
The absolute role Henry Cavill needs to have in the MCU is Cyclops, and I won't hear anyone else. I won't hear any other opinions. He should be Cyclops. Yes, because dude, Cyclops is fucking built, bro. Like he is.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Man.
He could do a lot. Like there's a lot of roles out there that he could do. I could see him being like a Reed Richards. That's apparently in the rumor mill. I could see him doing even Doom. I could see him doing Wolverine. He could do Cyclops. Like there's a lot of stuff out there that he could do pretty easily.
Yeah. It's just he needs to be a big leadership role. And like one of the only leaders we have left coming up in the MCU is like Cyclops, right? Like Reed Richards for sure, but like there's already wide rumors who they're casting outside of Krasinski. It looks like they pretty much got their dude locked in. And Cyclops is like one of the last big, Captain America type roles, Iron Man type of roles. That is, not just a character who is a side character, not that popular, because Captain America and Iron Man were pretty B-list people before the MCU. But they were always like in leadership roles.
Yeah, because with Cyclops, he's more of like a by the book kind of person too, right? Like he just does everything for the X-Men, and he wants to take care of them. It's almost like Magneto, but like in a heroic kind of way, right?
He is like by the book, but it's like the mission comes first always. Like we are here for a purpose, and like we're gonna do everything to complete that mission. And he is Xavier's sword. Like he goes out and executes for Xavier, and he's diehard about it.
And then you get Wolverine, and he's like, "No way, bub, I'm going this way."
And that's why they work so well together, right? As a character dynamic. And I'm pretty sure Hyperion, the comics they come from, I think they come from Secret Wars, I believe. That's what it is. I just remember Coulson putting them together.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the main, like a lot of the diverse characters that we see, a lot of them will hit Battle World in Secret Wars. And then that's when we get like, bursts of like off comics, which then we get all these different characters. And I love that. So I can see why Cyclops would be a great pick, Hoffman, but like I think they're trying to just do the cliche, especially if they're trying to put Cavill at like in, the Squad of America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if they can, like, because I think Cavill, he is still up in the air as Superman. I think it actually might happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel just tried to get him in, next year to have him on TV for Marvel, even if it is just a once-off like Krasinski, because the Krasinski thing, love him or hate him, it was a massive part of that film. And, it really got people talking, and it was a big hype point. I think if you could get Henry Cavill into the MCU, even if it was just for one episode, it's massive talk. Like, the amount of people that'd be talking about it, like it'd be all over the internet. So I think it's even just a temporary win. It might not even be permanent. But I would love to see him in the MCU because I think he does deserve it. And if Discovery can give him what he should have as Superman, Justice League movies, solo Superman movies, maybe appearances in other franchises as well. Like, why wouldn't Superman be showing up everywhere? You know what I mean? Like, he should be like the Wong of DC, like, like, in fact, like, he should be showing up everywhere.
I thought you were going to say Homelander.
Yeah.
Got Homelander cups and Homelander tumblers, Homelander mugs.
What do you think of I saw a report during the week that the Rock was saying something about that he's optimistic that he thinks that they will eventually get like a Marvel versus DC movie.
I think Rock is the most optimistic human being I've ever seen in my life.
It's so funny though. Like, like the DC are like at critical point. Like they're alarm bells, like threat level midnight. You know what I mean? Like they are literally fucked. And it's like you want to like try and dive in with the MCU who've been like building a cinematic universe for nearly 20 years now. It's like, come back in 20 years when you've got 20 years of movies behind you, like, and then maybe you can talk.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, The Rock is the Michael Scarn of DC.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that episode, dude. You know, where you
Me
like
too.
preview, where you like just the movie, like Jim is golden face
Golden
and all.
face.
So good, dude. I love The Office. Have you guys got anything else to talk about this week? I don't think there was too many nerdy bits going on.
It was fairly light on it, and we're recording this, and we're like 2 hours away from the premiere of like House of Dragons from Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? So,
hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was thinking more to talk about next week.
Yeah, and I was only thinking about that today because I thought the episode aired today. Like, obviously, it's technically like the 22nd for me now. So I saw 21st, and I was like, oh, maybe it's out today. But I then realized, obviously, it's airing like late night for you guys. So like I can't watch it till tomorrow. But then I'm thinking like, oh well, like we do the podcast live every Sunday, so it's like we'll be talking about episode 1 and episode 2 is like right around the corner. So it's not really great. But I'm happy. I'm definitely happy to talk about the episode because I presume everybody that listens to this will be watching it as well. So it's definitely something we can segment a few minutes of the cast to next week.
Sure.
Right. Did you see that the like what Marvel Studios will announce at D23?
I saw, yeah, and I don't know if that was a leak or whatever, but yeah, a lot of it was what I was expecting to see. Do you want to read out the list?
Yeah. So at D23, Marvel Studios will announce the cast and director of Fantastic Four, the cast of Thunderbolts, the Wonder Man series, the project dedicated to Nova, the Halloween special, Shang-Chi 2, Deadpool 3, and Armor Wars.
Damn, that's so much.
Yeah, I think it lines up because like a lot of people were saying that they had 8 more projects to announce at D23, and that's the 8 projects. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by a lot of it. Some of it I'm kind of like, okay, cool, you know.
Well, like I'm just really excited to see what they have in store for the Thunderbolts because I know we had a ton of speculation. And we're kind of, I'm kind of wondering, like, we have all of our ground warriors. Who's going to be our big Hulk type character that's going to be within the group, and if are they going to have any additional superpowers in addition to like the covert ops people?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be Abomination? Wouldn't he be like the Thunderbolts Hulk, right?
He could be. But I mean, you never know. They might do something crazy. They might even omit him and just say no, like we're just gonna keep it, pretty much human.
In the comics, didn't they have your man Thunderbolt Ross? He was like the Red Hulk or whatever.
He was, and sadly we lost our Ross, so I'm not sure if they're gonna do a recasting anytime soon.
He has been recast before, though, right? That character.
Yeah, he was. Because I think in the Edward Norton. I think it was it Sam? It wasn't Sam Elliott. That was
no. I'm pretty sure it was William Hurt the whole time, because they had the post-credit scene with him and Tony Stark together.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of the Eric Bana one. The Eric Bana one had Sam Elliott.
Yeah,
and William Hurt was in the Edward Norton one.
I thought there was a recast somewhere. I'm obviously wrong. Yeah. Did we talk last week? Did we talk about the Madam Web stuff last week on the cast? I can't remember.
I think it was a little bit of it, but if you want to recap, by all means.
Yeah, I just don't know if I can't remember. Did you hear the plot of the story? Where it's basically going to be following. It's going to be like a Terminator movie, where it's going to be it's going to be following like Mary Parker. She's going to be pregnant with Peter, and one of Spider-Man's villains is going to go back in time and try and kill him. So they're going to get a group of like Spider-Verse characters together to try and save Mary's life. I'm like, I'll watch it, but it does sound kind of stupid. But I'm like, I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very confused by that. I don't know too much about Madam Web. I'm not the biggest like Spider-Verse reader in the world, so I'm very excited for it. But also, it's a Sony movie, so I'm like.
Yeah, anything could happen.
Yeah. And in terms of like the announcements for D23, I really don't know anything about Wonder Man. Do you guys know anything about him at all?
No. Wonder Man's a loose one for me.
So that's going to be, it'll be nice. I'll have to do a bit of research, but I'd love to see what they have in store for this guy.
Just like there's just no need, Marvel. We don't need Wonder Man. What we need is X-Men. Like that's what we need. Stop this nonsense. Stop adding characters. The MCU's getting too crowded. Let's boil this down to the characters we really love, and then give us the X-Men, baby.
I mean,
Yeah.
what if the secret announcement is X-Men? Like, what if they actually give you something Hoffman?
I'll fucking cry, bro. I'll cry.
I heard that Feige was saying that the next phase, or is it the next saga? I think might be the next saga. So after the multiverse saga, the next saga after that is going to be a mutant-based saga, and it's going to introduce a load of mutant movies and mutant TV shows. So it's going to be kind of what we're living right now, but just all mutants. So I'd say Hoffman, you're going to be in your element, like, because it's going to be Disney Plus series about like fucking Wolverine probably, and they might have like a Cyclops series or something like that, and then you'll have movies kind of introducing it, and potentially like an Xavier movie or something like that where you start building the team. But I don't think that they can use the name X-Men until 2025. So you'll probably start getting announcements of characters singly, but you're not going to get like a building of the X-Men team until like 2025 or whatever.
Right.
Gotcha.
And hopefully we get like for those big fights, we get Avengers versus X-Men.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and they could do like Civil War 2 and, include the X-Men and stuff like that, because they were big part of the original, like the comic book Civil War.
And
I read that comic not too long ago. Obviously, I had seen the movie like way before. I went back and read the first Civil War, like, and you've got like Steve Rogers trying to like beat the shit out of the Punisher and stuff. I'm just like, oh my god, imagine getting to see this like in live action, like, it'd be fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume after the X-Men are introduced, the big culmination of that event would probably be what they're doing in the comic books right now. It's called Judgment Day. I think that's like the blueprint for the MCU right now. And it's like the Avengers and the X-Men versus like the Eternals. Like it's amazing. It's awesome. And like the big celestial that's like sleeping in the sea or whatever, like the Avengers like wake him up in the Judgment Day comic, right? Like it's a big thing of it. So I just think that with all those three casts already like involved, X-Men are coming, Eternals are here, we got the Avengers. That's where I expect them to go for it.
Is that storyline that's happening in the comics where the mutants are technically what are they called? The
like the
oh my god,
talking about like their genetics?
Yeah, like they're basically the crowd, like the people that the Eternals are made, they're wired to kill. What are they called again?
Yeah, like the deviant genes.
Deviant. I couldn't think of that word. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So yeah, like the X-Men are deviants technically. So the Eternals will be wired to kill them. That'd be a really cool fucking movie, dude. Yeah. That'd be great. Like, cause like, getting to like some of these new characters in like Eternals, and then you have them like trying to like wipe out like Wolverine and stuff. I think that'd be epic, bro.
Yeah. So like the whole basis for why it jumps off in the book is so the X-Men have always been deviants, but the Eternals has always just like let them be, and they've just let it be their own thing, and they're not that big about it. But in the run of the new X-Men books that started with Hickman in 2020, the X-Men or the mutants have figured out a way to resurrect each other. So like no mutant ever dies, like they can always resurrect. And like so it's just kind of this kind of cool thing. And so in the books, that's a big secret that the mutants keep. And then like Cyclops lets it out that they can resurrect, and the Eternals are like, oh fuck no, you cannot resurrect. Like we're gonna deal with you now. Like
yeah, only we could do that.
Right, exactly. That's the big Eternal secret. It's like every time they resurrect, the Eternals resurrect, it's like someone on Earth dies. Like
oh my god,
just a random dude drops dead.
That's awesome. That's a cool concept.
No, it's good.
Well, and then speaking of Eternals, like, what do you guys think about Black Knight? Like, when are we going to get some information about that?
I think he'll be in Blade. I think.
I hope so, man. That would be so fun.
That team up will be Blade for sure.
Yeah, we need more of the Eternals and Black Knight, and I don't know where they fit in, because there's just so much going on in the MCU that it's like if they introduce somebody, it's like when are they going to come back? There's like 18 other projects going on.
I mean, it really does feel like an entire like comic series kind of situation. You know, there's so many different comics to read, and so you're just gonna have to sit down and pick one to watch and to critique. And you know, like 31 projects, was it, Finto?
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, dude.
That's
a lot.
insane.
It's a lot.
Slow it down. Feige's just trying to get as much in as he can before he retires. Like, you should slow this down. But he's like, no, I only got like 4 more years doing this. We're getting it all in.
He's got that $50 billion like earned like price in his head, and he's like, we got to get there. So he's like pumping out the projects.
Like, people are telling him like, you're already the greatest. You don't have to keep going. He's like, no, I go until I'm done.
The way I look at it, let the man do what he's got to do. I'm here for it, 100%. I started watching, and I never actually watched it before, but I started watching Legion. You know, that X-Men show.
Blood told me to watch it. I haven't checked it out yet.
I watched the first episode of it, and I don't know why, but for some reason I had to turn it off, and I never went back to it. And it's on the Disney Plus app here, so I was like, fuck it, nothing to watch today. Threw it on, watched the whole first episode, and I was like, I definitely didn't finish this, because the way it ended, I was like, I wanted to watch the second episode straight away. And I was like, if I had finished it, I know I would have felt the same, and I would have continued to watch it. Obviously, I turned it off for some reason and just didn't go back. But yeah, I'm on like, I've watched the first 4 already, like, so I'm like halfway through the first season in a day. So, and I hear it gets really, really good as the show goes on. Like seasons 2 and 3 are meant to be really good. So
cool.
Yeah, I got something to kind of binge while I'm waiting for 30 minutes of She-Hulk every week. You know?
Oh, yeah, so still felt good to have like the Marvel Studios logo like pop back up. I'm like, oh, I kind of missed this.
You know, I was really hoping that they would put a spin on it and do like green and purple. You know, like green background, purple with like the logo.
That'll happen
just for the hell of it.
Before the end of the show. That'll happen. I heard that there's going to be like after credit or mid credit scenes for every episode of She-Hulk as well. So we're getting 9 mid credit scenes, which is great.
Yes,
nice.
I love that stuff. Even if it's a joke, it's fun.
Yeah, that like Captain America Fox thing was incredible. Like absolutely brilliant.
Tatiana just like delivered it so well, and I loved it.
So good. It wasn't acting, like, you know, that wasn't acting. But I loved as well when the episode finished, and just that like the initial credits was all like the animations being drawn and stuff. Fucking loved that.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. Like I love when those are done so right that you actually want to sit there and watch them, you know?
Yeah. And those are based on the drawings that they usually make in the courtrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like a courtroom sketch. I thought it was very, very well done. Are you guys going to go see Spider-Man again? Because they're re-releasing it with 11 minutes of extra footage.
I mean, for 11 minutes, I don't know.
I would go if it was.
I don't know when.
It's the 2nd of September, I believe. But it's not. I don't think it's getting released in Europe. If it was, I would actually just go and see it again, just to experience it on the big screen one more time. But the fact that it's like 11 more minutes of footage and it's like all Andrew and Toby stuff, I would absolutely be going if I could.
Yeah, like I would go see it again just because like I really enjoy Spider-Man, and like that's a fun movie to see in the theaters. It's a great movie. I've seen nothing on my end about what theaters around me are showing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Keep an eye out for it. Do it for me. If you do it for me, guys.
Fine. But I was gonna ask Finto, like for the release, like the Blu-ray release, they don't have that footage.
So this was actually quite like controversial, but what they did was when they first announced the Blu-ray or the Steelbook, they were saying like if you bought the Steelbook of it, you would get like 100 minutes of extra footage and behind the scenes stuff and all. So I pre-ordered it because I was like, fuck yeah, I want to watch all that. And when they went to actually release it, they had taken out a bunch of the stuff, which obviously they had then planned to turn around and re-release in another theatrical release. So they took it out of the Blu-ray. Now it is what it is, like, but you know, I'm not too upset about it, but I could see why a lot of people could potentially be upset, like, because, you know, like the Steelbook cost me like 40 quid, like, you know, so it's like It's not cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's fucking false advertising, really. Like, you know, they just turn around and be like, actually, no, we're going to take that 11 minutes of gold out and we'll put it in a fun edit that we're going to re-release in the theaters. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Steelbook was good. I watched every bit of the special features and stuff, and it was fun. But yeah, I would have obviously liked to see all that stuff on the Blu-ray.
Yeah. Maybe they'll release it on another Steelbook for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, those bastards. Yeah. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think is going to happen in Game of Thrones? Like, I don't even know.
No idea.
No idea
clue.
either.
It is based on a book, though, right? Isn't it?
It's not based on a book. It's based on, well, I mean, it was printed. It's a compendium that goes along with the Game of Thrones universe. It's kind of like a history book written from as like a historical document, like a bunch of historical documents compiled together by a monk. Is basically what it is. It's based on like the Targaryen history, what happened 200 years before Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I just found out that I'm way more fucking dorky than you guys. You guys just gave me the okay that every girl in my life has given me when they found out how dorky I'm. Like, oh, okay, you're gonna be moving on.
I've never read any of the Game of Thrones stuff. I've just seen the series, like, so I've no other knowledge on it apart from that. So
Yeah,
I respect it, sir. I respect it. So next week on the cast, we're gonna have episode 2 of She-Hulk. We're gonna talk about Game of Thrones as well, and any other nerdy bits from the week. So if that's it, guys, we'll depart for the week, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right, everyone.
Bye bye. Later.